Hey, sports fans, PBnZ Sports Chaos, we're back at you. We got a special guest this week, Emily. We'll tell you why momentarily. She's our big winner. Then we're going to do a little college football preview. We get the title game on Monday, and then the big NFL Wildcard weekend, the first triple header on 2 straight days in the NFL, Saturday and Sunday. Wives, boyfriends, if you're not going to see your spouses the rest of this weekend, trust me. And they will be drunk when they wake up on the next day. All right, PB, we got our winner here, Emily from Survivor Fantasy. Remind the fans what Survivor Fantasy is one more time.
Yeah, so Survivor Fantasy is pretty simple and basic. All you have to do is pick 4 players in a snake draft format, and you ride those 4 players all year long. There's no bench, there's no points. You just get your total points. And as it turns out, we had 7 teams, so 28 of the top fantasy players were spread amongst these teams. And Emily clearly crushed all of us with her team, and she was the winner. So that's why we have her on our show today.
Sorry, nice. Well, awesome. Who was Emily's team? What was her super team?
My super team, if I tell you though, you got to keep it top secret. So is this going to be broadcast to everyone, or all your fans going to keep it a secret?
It's out there in the world.
All right, fine.
Social media.
Stephen A. Smith watches our show.
I don't even know who was on my team. I had Mahomes.
Yeah.
I had Kelsey.
Yeah.
I had Kamara.
Mm-hmm.
I had Lockett, who didn't really help me out at all.
He had a couple of big games though. He had like a couple 40-point games this year tucked in there. But hey, for having those, I mean, having Mahomes and Kelsey alone, they were carrying Kamara. He went off the second to last week of the season. He scored like 60 fantasy points. So I think out of the 17 weeks, Emily had the top team in 7 of those 17 weeks.
It was 7, yeah.
Well, the secret is she had 4 players in every single week for the most part, right?
Yeah. G-Money was the only other guy that he had only 2 players that didn't play all year long in a week. So he had 3 players in 2 different weeks. But other than that, he had a healthy team the entire year as well.
Unlike me, who had a first ballot Hall of Fame roster and only one of them played the whole year. Tom Brady, go figure.
Yeah, well, you had McCaffrey, that killed you, and then Julio Jones is getting up there in age. He missed a lot of games, but
7 games.
Casey Josh had Saquon. Saquon was out early at the beginning of the year. He had Dak, so it was a tough year injury wise for some of what were expected to be fantasy studs, right?
Yeah. All right. Hey, listen, Emily, before we let you go, go ahead. You got something to offer to us?
Yeah, no, I just want to know, do I get to be in your big league now, fantasy, because I already beat you guys once?
Oh, geez, huh? Well, I'll tell you what, the big league, it's been running strong we have Super Bowl 15 this year, but I feel like the last 4 or 5 years, we haven't had any turnover in that league. But if we do have turnover in that league, of course, I'll reach out to our fantasy friends and see if anybody wants to join it. So
what I'm hearing is you guys are scared to add me to your league.
I don't play in it, so it's all up to PB.
Yeah.
I'm not into fantasy.
Pressure's on.
But you know what? You'll have a chance to redeem yourself in the PBnZ Fantasy Survivor League that we'll do next year.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, we're going to double it next year. We're going to get up to 20 players. Hey, Emily, since you're on a roll, give us your wild card winners this weekend.
All of them? You want all of them? I'm on the fence on one. All right.
Go ahead. Take us through it.
I'm going to go Buffalo, Seattle, Bucks. I'm going to come back to the next one. I'm going to go Saints, Pittsburgh. Okay. And then the only reason I'm making this pick, because I'm on the fence, is because in my fantasy league, Jackson is my quarterback. So I'm going to go with the Ravens.
Oh, those are very good picks. They may mirror somebody else's on this show later on.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I got the same 6.
Wow. All right, you want to take a bonus on the college football playoff? On this, we play the point spread. Right now, I believe it's 7.5 still. Alabama, what do you think?
So I don't watch college ever. I don't know anything about college football, surprisingly. I've never.
And there you go, fan sports for girls. All right. Give us a wild card pick here.
I go with the older men, so I stick with, NFL.
Nice. All right, if you had to choose, we'll just ask you to pick the winner, Alabama or Ohio State?
Alabama.
Okay, good pick.
Is that a good choice?
That's a very good pick.
All right.
50-50 chance.
Well, there you go. Good
Says
enough.
I would say more like 80-20.
Well, straight up probably, but against the spread, it's supposed to be designed to be 50-50, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Emily, do you have any parting shots you want to give us before you leave us?
I do. I have a very important parting thought.
Uh-oh, here we go.
So if you're local and you live near Winchester, you need to go visit the Black Horse Tavern, because I was just there and I ran home and they gave me a to-go drink so I could run home and do this show with you guys. So I had to give them a shout out.
The Black Horse Tavern in Winchester, what state?
Mass.
Oh, okay. All right.
So we'll hashtag. We'll put him in the. We'll put him on a tag on our show, and then you, when you go back to buy, you tell him and you have him watch it and have him like it. Okay.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Emily.
All right.
Take
see you
care.
later.
All right.
All right, PB, that was great. Nice job. Emily did an awesome job. I'm disappointed my Hall of Fame team did horrible, but that's what happens in the Survivor Fantasy. All right. Hey, we had an action-packed weekend last weekend. This weekend, we got college football championship, Ohio State, Alabama. We'll talk about that momentarily. We'll preview that game. But first of all, we're going to acknowledge we had a Heisman Trophy winner the other night. First time ever in a virtual Heisman Trophy ceremony. Devontae Smith won the Heisman Trophy for Alabama. DYK, PB. He's the first wide receiver since 91. Who was the last wide receiver?
The last wide receiver to win the Heisman Trophy. 91 out of Michigan. Desmond Howard.
There you go. Nice. All right, a little bonus one. How many wide receivers all time have won the Heisman?
Devonta Smith was the fourth, I believe.
There you go. You get the number right. That is correct. So 4 altogether. Hey, by the way, early odds out of Vegas. My Oklahoma Sooner boy, Spencer Rattler, 9-2 favorite right now. He's the number 1 favorite for the Heisman next year going in.
Nice.
All right, let's talk this game real quick. Ohio State, Alabama. Ohio State won the game over Clemson. I didn't see that coming. I thought they would cover the spread. I did not see them winning that game. They did. Justin Fields threw 6 touchdowns. He looked incredible. But again, I'll just remind you, Dwayne Haskins, Cardell Jones. Need I say more? What do you think, PB, in this game?
Man, again, you know how my feelings about Ohio State. I know they're a talented team, but at the same time, they didn't play a real schedule this year. And
agreed.
You could make the argument that they just got fresher legs, and there's a potential there that they could cause some trouble and concern for Bama. It just doesn't sit well with me. It doesn't sit well. And I'm not saying there's not a chance. Of course, there's a chance Ohio State could win this game.
Right.
I'm picking with my heart and I'm picking with my head, more with my heart than I with my head, because I just have this anti-Buckeye thing going on since the beginning of the year. Anti-Big Ten thing going on since the beginning of the year.
Good point.
So I'm not there yet. And I think if Ohio State had to play out a full schedule, they may have seen some other challenging games.
I would agree.
So I'm going to take Bama for sure.
I'm with you, Bama as well. And the wild card to me, Devontae Smith is the Heisman Trophy winner wide receiver. The best wide receiver on their roster who got hurt in October may play. Jalen Waddle may be back for that game. And good night, Irene. I don't see Ohio State keeping up. Clemson put 28 on them when it was not garbage time. So they don't have a good defense in the first place. Alabama, I think, will hang 50 on them going into this game. Maybe Ohio State scores 42, but they don't cover the spread. I'm with you.
All right.
Hey, NFL playoffs last week. We had coming up this week, I'm sorry. But last week we had 11 teams playing for their NFL playoff opportunity, including your Cinderella teams, Arizona and Miami. And guess what? Like Cinderella, they both choked and they went home. So, and by the way, your Indianapolis coach, your number 1 seed, just barely got in thanks to your Miami Dolphins losing.
Yeah. And Miami still went 10-6 as I predicted. It just wasn't good enough to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Teams getting in I figured with
Wait.
7 teams getting in this year, that a 10-6 record would be good enough to get in. But
Yes, I
behold,
agree. I mean, look at the other side. NFC East had an 8-8 team get in, right? And a 7-9 division winner, right?
right. So,
Hey, by the way, speaking of the division winner, that's a good segue. 7-9 division winner. A lot of crying last week of what happened in the Sunday night game. Philadelphia and Washington football team. Washington won a squeaker against Philadelphia. Philly pulled their quarterback in the fourth quarter, and everybody went crazy. What do you think, PB? What's your feeling on that?
well, first of all, we when we looked at our challenge that we did last week, it was good for us because we only had 2 of our fans beat us last week. Which, by the way, we got to give a shout out to them. We'll be giving
We'll do that when we do the picks.
Their shot glasses, Steve and Tom, right? But if Philly had won that game, I think there would have been 2 other people that would have also beaten us because we both had Washington in that game.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it turned out the way it turned out, of course.
But what do you think about
But-
the integrity of the game challenged by that?
You know, I'm going to say no. And the reason why I'm going to say no is because teams just do what they want to do in that moment. Maybe they just want to get a look at their third string quarterback in game time situations to think about how they might start their season next year. Look at Kansas City benched their entire team. They're not making the playoffs, but that still has an impact on the rest of the NFL. It has an impact on the Chargers draft pick. Obviously, they're out to win the game, but it also has an impact on other teams and where they're going to be drafting, especially in situations. Just imagine this. What if someone had the Chargers pick next year and they're like, oh, we're going to be picking 6th or 7th or 8th or whatever it is in the draft. And then they're playing the Chiefs in the final week and the Chiefs don't start their starters. The Chargers win. And now all of a sudden the Chargers move up or move down, I should say, to the 9th, 10th, or 11th pick. You just lost 3 or 4 draft picks or draft positions by Kansas City sitting at those teams. Things just happen in the NFL. Teams do what they need to do given their strategy. I have absolutely no problem with it. And for all those freaking Giants fans, they can just cry all the way home.
Here's what I got to say about that. I'm with you 100%. Joe Judge, rookie coaches should be seen and not heard from. Shut up. You were 6-10. You want to know what the most disrespectful thing that would have happened in football? A 6-10 playoff team. That would have been the worst thing. I'd rather have a 7-9 than a 6-10 shitty team like the Giants were. All right, moving on. Enough of that. Hey, by the way, speaking of people getting lucky, Nick Casario, director of player personnel since 2008 with the Patriots, now gets the Houston Texans GM job, 3rd highest GM in the game. Oh, by the way, have you looked at the Patriots draft record? The guy in charge of personnel for 13 years now? It sucks. Good luck, Houston, with that one. Moving on, we got to talk about the games this week.
Yes, we do.
Let's get into this thing. We've got a lot of good games. Give me a preview. First game Saturday, 1 o'clock, Colts and Bills. What do you think?
Yeah, and the Colts did a nice job, getting into the playoffs. But the Bills, man, they're one of the hottest teams in the NFL right now. They're playing lights out. Josh Allen is playing lights out. Stephon Diggs is a beast. Jonathan Taylor had a good game, and you know what? Jonathan Taylor could run wild in this game. Buffalo's run defense isn't the best; it's average. We could see a decent game on the ground. I think Indy's going to put up some points in this game. I don't dismiss them from getting potentially 24, 28 points somewhere in that range against Buffalo. The question is, how much can Buffalo score against Indy? And I think with the way their offense is playing and clicking right now, they can easily get into the low to mid 30s, if not higher. So I'm going to take the Bills. And for those of you who are interested in point spreads, I think they're a 6.5 point favorite right now. I think they'll cover it, win by a touchdown at least.
Oh, okay. All right, we're going to jump into the picks too. All right, I got the Bills as well. All right, 4:30 game, or 4:40, I'm sorry. Rams at the Seahawks. LA may have broken thumb Jared Goff playing quarterback, or the financial analyst Wolford may play. Who knows? We'll see what happens there. It doesn't look good, in my opinion, though, for the Rams. Hate to say it with the quarterback issue. What do you think?
Yeah, in Seattle, I think I heard a statistic that Pete Carroll has won more playoff wildcard games than any other coach in NFL history.
That is correct. That is correct. Yeah. That is correct.
Yeah, and they're at home. I know home field doesn't mean too much these days, but they are at home. The situation in LA is just a little. I mean, without knowing if Goff's going to play enough, plus Goff to me is a playoff choker anyways, and Russell Wilson will get it done. So I'm going to take the Seahawks, and I think they're only a 3-point favorite. So if you're out there, looking for against the spread, I would think they can cover the 3 points as well.
I like the Seahawks to win the game as well. All right, the 8:00 game. This is a doozy. It's Tampa Bay and Washington. Spread-wise, it's like an 8.5-point game, favorite Tampa Bay. But hang on one sec. By the way, Joe Judge is pulling a Donald Trump. He's trying to get this game blocked, but hold on. I don't know what's going to happen. This could be an upset game, PB. Think about this for a minute. TB12, not very good against pressures. We all know he always succumbs to pass rushes to get in his face when he can't step up. Washington does that very well with those 4 first-round picks on the front line. I'm a little bit nervous about this game. Plus, ever since TB12 has gone on the TB12 diet, he goes to bed every night at 8:00. Believe it or not, I looked this up. He's 2-4 in games after 8:00 in the last 2 years. And since 2017, he's only 6-6. So I have some concern. This could be the upset game of the weekend. What do you think?
I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, would I be surprised if it did? Actually, I would. I don't feel the same way you do with the Washington football team.
I'm not picking them. I'm just saying, beware. Yeah.
No, but about their defense, I know their defense is somewhat legit. They did have one of the top 5-6 defenses, right, in the NFL this year. But Tampa Bay's got too many offensive weapons, and Washington has the lack thereof. We don't even know if Alex Smith is going to be playing. They're talking about doing a hybrid quarterback type situation where they might have 2 quarterbacks playing, plugging them in and out throughout the game. I just don't see a good offensive game plan here. And Tampa Bay's defense is also pretty legit. So I just don't see Washington scoring enough points. I mean, if they can get to, 10, 13, even 16 points, that would be a lot for them, I think, for Washington. So can Tampa score in the high teens, low 20s? Easily. And they'll probably score in the mid to high 20s, if not low 30s. So I see this as like a 31-10, 31-14 type game, 31-13. I'm going to take the Bucs, and I think they'll cover too.
I'm with you. I'm going to take the Bucs, but listen, little DYK. Tommy Brady is 1-3 versus the NFC East in the postseason, including 2 of those losses against terrific pass rush teams when he had the greatest offense in NFL history in 2007. They lost to the Giants 17-10. So just beware. I still think they win the game, but I'm not going to jump off and say they're going to win by 20 points or something. All right, let's get to Sunday. The Ravens-Titans. It's a rematch from last year. A little DYK. This is the 5th time in NFL history that the number 1 and the number 2 team in rushing yardage for the season are facing off. What do you think?
Yeah, and you know what? Lamar Jackson has been a one-and-done quarterback over the last several years in the playoffs. I think since he's come into the league, right?
Yeah.
He's just not getting it done in the playoffs. And this Tennessee team, though, they don't have a good run defense. I think Dobbins is going to have a huge game running the football. Lamar Jackson will probably have a good day running the football as well. And I think he breaks his little curse here. Not to mention the fact that if he doesn't and he goes one and done again, I think they even went one and done one year when they were a bye team. They got a bye in the first round and they were one and done. So they have to. He has to.
Well, last year they were one and done after a bye. You're right. And the year before they were a wild card team and they lost. Last year, Jackson had 340 yards passing and 150 yards rushing. It wasn't his fault, but I'm with you. I think they win this game and Jackson has a big game. He's been on a roll for the last 4 weeks since the COVID incident, right?
Yeah, so Baltimore wins. And they're the only road favorite going into a wild card weekend. I think they're favored by 3 points as well. So I would take them, and I think they'll cover the spread too.
All right. Bears and Saints.
Yeah, Bears are a joke. I mean, the Bears are probably just as bad as the Washington football team. I might even think the Washington football team's better than the Bears. I have no. I said they were a fraud team all year. I know they had that quick 3-0, 4-0 start, whatever it was. They barely made the playoffs. They backdoored in. They finished 8-8 or whatever it is. They're going to get crushed. They're going to get crushed by the Saints. That'll be the biggest point differential in all the games this weekend. Will be the Saints beating the Bears.
I hope so. Little DYK though. Little fact for you. The Saints are now 0-6 in the last 6 playoff games by 1 score, including the last 3 playoff series. They've lost on the last possession of the game.
Yeah.
That's a tough streak. All right, last game of the weekend. Browns Steelers, the rematch of last weekend. What do you think?
Yeah, and I mean, the Browns barely beat the Steelers without them playing any of their players. So
right.
You got Big Ben in there. They got a great crop of receivers there with Deontay Johnson and Claypool and Juju. I know they don't have a really effective running game, but I don't think they're going to need to have an effective running game. They're going to air it out. They're going to force Cleveland to have to throw the football, which they're not good at. They can run the football pretty well, and I think Chubb's going to have a decent day. But once that game starts to get out of hand, Cleveland's not going to be able to keep up with them, and then Pittsburgh's just going to lay it on. Not to mention all the other COVID situations, practice facility, Cleveland, their coach. There's just too many factors right now against them. This is another game that Pittsburgh should end up crushing their opponent. Maybe not as much as New Orleans crushes the Bears, but I would say this could be your second biggest point differential of the weekend.
That's a big deal. Kevin Stefanski, the head coach, is out. He's also the offensive coordinator, theoretically. I know they have an OC, but he calls the plays. So the first time the real OC is going to be calling the plays. It'll be tough. Plus, they've been not able to practice all week. They've been out of the facility for 1 whole week since 12:30, if I'm not mistaken. Hey, little DYK on this game. It's a rematch, not only of last week, but it's a rematch of the last time the Browns were in the playoffs in 2002 when they were a wild card team that year. Do you know what happened in that game?
No, I don't.
The Browns went up by 17 points in the game, and Pittsburgh came back and won.
Wow. That's not going to happen this weekend.
No.
I don't think the Browns will get a lead of that much on them. So
All
we're the same on all 6 of our picks then, right?
Yeah.
And Emily was too. Emily had the same
Correct.
6. So, all right.
We'll see.
What
Congrats
happens.
to Emily. Congrats to, what's the other 2 gentlemen's name that won shots beating us last week? 9-3.
Yeah, Steve and Tom, 2 of our good fans.
Okay.
They were able to. They went 10. They went 11. Wait, it was 14. There was 12 games.
No,
we went 8.
picked 12 games. They went 9-3.
You and I went 8-4. They went 9-3. So they were the only 2 that actually beat us.
Damn Patriots. I know I shouldn't have picked them. All right. Hey, we'll talk more next week, fans. PBnZ Sports Chaos. Thank you very much. Take care. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the football.
Have a good wild card weekend.